Welcome, everyone. It's really fantastic to have you with us today.
Yeah, thanks for joining us.
If you're tuning in right now, you're probably the kind of person who, constantly wants to know how the gears of the world actually turn behind the scenes.
Right.
And today we have a deep dive prepared specifically for you. Today is March 8th, 2026, and our mission today is to unpack this really dense stack of industry reports.
It's a heavy stack.
It is. It's straight from the reporting team over at Automotive News. And when you first glance at these headlines, it feels a bit like peering into a blender.
That is the perfect way to describe it.
Right, because we've got billions of dollars moving across borders. We have these foundational tech bets, really intense geopolitical standoffs, and even Formula One racing thrown into the mix.
Which seems completely random at first.
Exactly. But it perfectly captures this chaotic, high-stakes snapshot of the global auto industry right now. Okay, let's unpack this.
It really is a phenomenal amount of information to sift through, and I'm glad you brought up that feeling of chaos, because on the surface, it definitely looks like a dozen different industries just colliding all at once.
Yeah.
But if we connect this to the bigger picture, these sources aren't just a scatterplot of random events.
What are they then?
Well, what we're actually looking at is a massive, highly interconnected shift. It's about how the world moves, how we build these incredibly complex machines, and honestly, how global corporations are fighting for survival right now.
That's a survival game.
Absolutely. So, to help you navigate this, we're breaking it down into three main themes today.
Sounds good.
First, we'll examine the tech and data race. Second, we'll look at the billion-dollar boardroom shuffles. And finally, we're going to explore the geopolitical and cultural battlegrounds.
So all the easy stuff.
Right, just the simple things. But by the time we finish, you'll see exactly how all these seemingly unrelated pieces fit together into one unified, albeit very volatile, puzzle.
I am so ready to jump straight into this. Let's start with that first theme, the tech and data race.
Let's do it.
We all know by now that modern cars are basically, smartphones on wheels.
Yeah, that's not exactly breaking news.
No, anyone following the industry knows that. But there's this piece of reporting here from the Shift podcast. It's hosted by Molly Boygan and Jake Nair. And it really reframes the vulnerability of that reality.
It really does.
They bring on Mike Quinn. He's a managing director partner at Boston Consulting Group to discuss how vehicles actually fundamentally connect to the internet.
And his analogy is great.
The imagery he uses is so striking. He talks about a lone cell tower just situated on a hill looking out over a town.
Yeah.
It sounds almost quaint, right? But he highlights that this single piece of infrastructure is the literal tether keeping modern transportation functional.
Exactly. And the reason Quinn's point is so vital for you to understand is the sheer volume of data we are talking about here.
Right, it's not just maps.
No, a vehicle rolling off the assembly line today isn't just pinging a tower so you can stream Spotify or check the live traffic. It is essentially a heavy, fast-moving data center.
Moving at 70 miles an hour.
Right. That cell tower on the hill is handling critical, heavy data loads. We're talking over-the-air braking updates, autonomous driving telemetry, real-time diagnostic reporting back to the manufacturer.
So the car is constantly talking to the tower.
Constantly. We've reached a point where the entire automotive ecosystem is completely tethered to telecommunications infrastructure.
Wow.
If a carrier network experiences a significant outage today, your car might not just lose its navigation. It could potentially lose access to core operational updates.
Or safety features.
Exactly. The dependency is absolute now.
That is such a profound shift in risk. You're no longer just worried about getting a flat tire on the highway. You're worried about network latency.
Which is wild.
It is. And that pivot into pure technology perfectly contextualizes the next report in our stack. Because Hyundai Motor is making an incredibly aggressive play to chase Tesla.
Very aggressive.
And they're doing it with a staggering $6 billion investment.
$6 billion.
But they aren't dropping that $6 billion on a state-of-the-art stamping plant or a new engine foundry.
No, they are not.
They're pouring it into this massive new Korean hub dedicated entirely to robotics, artificial intelligence, and data.
Yeah.
They are literally trying to buy a new corporate identity.
They absolutely are, because Hyundai realizes they aren't competing against traditional car companies anymore. Their primary adversaries are now rooted in Silicon Valley.
Right.
And this highlights a really crucial piece of insight from our sources. We have a quote from Maria Anhalt, and she hits the core issue squarely. She emphasizes that auto industry timelines must get faster.
Must get faster.
Yes. Think about the structural friction she's referencing there. For over a century, the traditional auto industry operated on a rigid, 5 to 7 year product cycle.
Right, you design the chassis.
You source the physical parts, you retool the massive factory lines, and half a decade later, the vehicle finally rolls out.
And by the time it rolls out, the software interface inside the car already feels 2 generations behind whatever is sitting in your pocket on your phone.
Precisely. Because Silicon Valley operates on agile software sprints. They measure progress in weeks, sometimes days.
Yeah.
You push an over-the-air update, and the product fundamentally improves overnight. Legacy automakers like Hyundai are currently trying to violently merge a century-old, slow-moving physical manufacturing culture with these lightning-fast software development cycles.
Which has to be a nightmare for management.
Oh, it's unprecedented. That $6 billion AI and robotics hub in Korea isn't just an R&D center. It's an attempt to fundamentally rewire the company's internal clock to match the speed of code rather than the speed of steel.
But how does a legacy automaker even begin to implement that without completely breaking their existing business model?
That is the big question.
Because you have the heavy metal reality of building physical machines crashing directly into the digital reality of instant software updates.
Yeah.
And managing that collision takes an unbelievable amount of capital and control.
It takes everything they have.
Which brings us right into our second theme, the billion-dollar boardroom shuffles and showdowns.
This is where the money really moves.
Right. Because while Hyundai is spending billions on AI, Toyota is spending exponentially more just to secure physical parts. Akio Toyota and the Toyota Group are sweetening a buyout of a key supplier, Toyota Industries.
The number is staggering.
The new price tag is $38 billion. But wait, isn't vertically integrating the supply chain a massive step backward?
It seems that way, yeah.
Because for decades, the entire industry trend was to outsource parts to third parties to save money. Why are they suddenly reverting to the 1920s Ford River Rouge model of trying to own everything?
It does look like a historical regression on paper, but it's actually a calculated fortress building strategy.
Building a fortress.
Yes. What this $38 billion buyout is really about is insulating the company against an incredibly unpredictable global market. The supply chain shocks we've witnessed over the last few years completely changed the math in these automotive boardrooms.
They got burned.
They learned a remarkably expensive lesson about what happens when you don't have absolute unyielding control over the components required to finish a vehicle.
Right.
By bringing a foundational supplier like Toyota Industries fully in-house, they are eliminating external dependencies. In this new era, relying on a fragmented web of independent global suppliers is no longer viewed as a clever cost-saving measure. It's viewed as an existential vulnerability.
Existential vulnerability. That is the perfect phrase for it, because you simply can't build the car if you don't own the parts.
Exactly.
And that leads us to the ultimate supply chain choke point right now. We have a report here detailing a major semiconductor showdown.
This one is tense.
Very. According to Automotive News, the owner of a semiconductor company called Nexteria is currently seeking $8 billion in compensation.
$8 billion.
And this demand comes after the Dutch government intervened and blocked China from taking control of the company. Now, just to be entirely clear for you listening, we are looking at this strictly through the lens of the factual reporting provided in our sources.
Right, just the facts.
We aren't taking any geopolitical stance on the Dutch blockade or the Chinese acquisition attempt. We are simply reporting the facts on the ground. The block occurred, and there is now an $8 billion compensation dispute on the table. But the sheer financial scale of this standoff over one chip manufacturer is staggering.
What's fascinating here is how directly this connects back to our earlier discussion about those cell towers and AI hubs.
How so?
Well, Nexperia isn't necessarily making the ultra-advanced, cutting-edge processors used to train massive AI models. They specialize in foundational, essential chips.
The basic stuff.
Right. The microcontrollers that operate a car's power steering, manage the battery system, control the windows. These basic chips are the absolute backbone of automotive manufacturing today.
So you can't build a car without them.
None of the advanced tech matters without them. The $6 billion Hyundai AI hub is useless, and the cell tower connection is totally irrelevant if the factory can't source the basic microchips required to make the car turn on.
Oh.
When you see international governments stepping in to block acquisitions of these companies, it highlights that semiconductors are no longer just commercial components. They are treated as critical national security infrastructure.
That puts the fragility of the entire system into such stark perspective. The future of global transportation is entirely bottlenecked by these tiny nodes.
It really is.
But while these sprawling international standoffs are playing out, the domestic market right here in the U.S. is undergoing its own severe structural overhauls. Let's look at the reporting on some of the biggest American legacy brands.
Detroit is moving fast.
Yeah, Michael Martinez reports that Ford is launching an entirely new battery business. And the explicit goal of this division is to figure out how to spin actual profits out of their incredibly costly electric vehicle investments.
Which have been burning through cash.
Exactly.
And you see a similar urgency over at General Motors. John Irwin's reporting outlines a sweeping leadership shuffle at GM.
A total shakeup.
Yeah, we're looking at entirely new executives taking over their global products division, as well as new leadership for the Buick GMC lines. So Ford is restructuring its corporate framework to stop the bleeding on EV costs, while GM is fundamentally reshuffling its top brass to find a new path forward.
It's a top-down structural overhaul across the board in Detroit.
Absolutely.
And it isn't stopping at the corporate headquarters. It's trickling all the way down to the local retail level.
Yeah.
Gail Kachadorian-Howe's reporting on the dealership buy-sell database shows significant consolidation happening right at the final mile of the industry.
The local lots.
Right. We're seeing major dealership transactions spanning across 8 different states. And you have massive corporate entities like Lithia Motors and Asbury Automotive acting as the key deal makers here.
They're buying up everything.
At an unprecedented rate. Why the sudden rush to consolidate local dealerships?
It comes right back to controlling the entire ecosystem. Just like Toyota wants to control its physical supply chain, retail giants like Lithia and Asbury want to control the final customer data and the service revenue stream.
The service revenue.
Yes. The physical sale of the car is just the beginning. The real money in the connected car era is in the ongoing service, the software updates, and the localized customer relationship.
That makes a lot of sense.
To effectively summarize this incredibly chaotic corporate landscape, we can look at a quote from Dan Hirsch in our sources. He states plainly that it is a whole new world for auto industry executives.
A whole new world.
Think about the sheer burden on an automotive CEO today compared to 20 years ago. They have to manage agile software development, secure raw materials for batteries, navigate international geopolitical semiconductor disputes, restructure their retail networks, and somehow appease shareholders with quarterly profits through it all.
It's an entirely different job description. Which brings us to our third and final theme for today. Geopolitics, threats, and cultural marketing. Here's where it gets really interesting.
Oh, definitely.
Because the reports in our SAC present some highly conflicting viewpoints on what the industry should actually be terrified of right now.
There's a lot of fear out there.
Right. On one hand, we have an analysis from Bernstein highlighting a severe, immediate geopolitical hurdle. According to their data, global heavyweights, specifically Toyota, Hyundai, Chery, and Stellantis, are currently facing tangible disruptions to their supply chains due to the ongoing Iran war.
Yeah, the shipping lanes.
And again, relying strictly on the neutral reporting from our sources, we just want to clarify that the analysis points to the regional conflict as a factual cause of shipping and logistical delays for these specific automakers.
If you aren't taking any stance on the conflict itself.
Right. It's strictly a logistical reality for those teams. The physical disruption to global shipping lanes is an undeniable problem right now. But it creates a fascinating contradiction for us to look at when you introduce another perspective from our stack. Which perspective is that?
We have a piece of commentary from Lei Xing. Despite the pervasive industry anxiety regarding international competition, Xing argues forcefully that the Chinese vehicle threat is overblown.
Overblown.
That's his argument. So you as a listener have to critically weigh these two differing realities. On one side, Bernstein points to actual cargo ships delayed by a kinetic war today. On the other side, you have the overarching long-term anxiety that cheap Chinese electric vehicles are going to flood the global market and decimate legacy brands.
A fear that Xing suggests is heavily exaggerated.
Exactly.
It really makes you wonder if legacy automakers are bracing for the wrong disaster. Are they so focused on the looming theoretical threat of foreign EV competitors that they are underestimating the immediate physical supply chain breakdown breakdowns happening right now.
That is the exact tightrope these executives are walking. Do you allocate your capital to fight a price war against a perceived wave of foreign EVs? Or do you spend that capital rerouting your physical supply chains around global conflict zones?
If you guess wrong, you lose market share.
And if you guess really wrong, your assembly lines grind to a halt entirely.
And while they are fighting these sweeping, complex battles, navigating tech races, securing microchips, and dodging global supply disruptions, they still have a very fundamental job to do.
Selling cars.
They still have to convince a consumer to walk onto a lot and buy a car. So how do brands like Ford and GM maintain their cultural dominance and desirability through all this chaos?
The answer is surprisingly simple.
According to reporting by E.J. Schultz, they turn to Formula One.
Formula One.
Both Ford and GM are throwing substantial financial weight behind F1 partnerships. And Schultz makes it very clear, this isn't just an engineering exercise. They're using F1 as a highly targeted mass marketing stage, specifically designed to reach affluent American audiences.
The irony of that strategy is incredible when you really break it down. We have spent this entire deep dive unpacking the most dense, complex issues imaginable.
Yeah, software life cycles.
Right, the friction between hardware and software. We're talking about $38 billion corporate buyouts to secure power steering chips. We're analyzing international standoffs and supply chain delays caused by regional wars. It is highly technical, world-shifting material. And yet, when it comes time to actually convince a human being to open their wallet and purchase the final product, what is the strategy? The strategy is to plaster a corporate logo on a wildly loud open-wheel race car going 200 miles an hour.
It feels almost primal compared to the AI and data hubs we talked about earlier.
It is primal. In a landscape completely dominated by artificial intelligence, over-the-air updates, and supply chain logistics, selling the vehicle still fundamentally relies on raw cultural relevance.
It's all about the brand.
It relies on the visceral excitement and the undeniable glamour of Formula One racing. It's a stark reminder that despite all the back-end technology, automotive manufacturing remains an industry built on human emotion and brand desire.
That's a great point.
You can have the most advanced data center on wheels, but if the brand lacks cultural cachet, the affluent audiences Ford and GM are targeting simply won't buy it.
It's the ultimate balancing act. You need the multi-billion-dollar AI facility in Korea to make the software function. You need the Dutch microchips to make the windows roll down. But you need the glamorous F1 race car to make people actually want to be seen driving it.
That is the whole picture right there.
So what does this all mean? When we step back and look at this entire stack of automotive news reports, how do we tie all these threads together?
If we synthesize everything we've discussed today, the big takeaway is this. The automotive industry in 2026 has completely shed its traditional identity. It is no longer just about bending metal in combustion engines.
No, those days are gone.
It has evolved into a precarious high-wire act. To survive, these legacy companies have to perfectly execute the integration of cell tower telecommunications and artificial intelligence while simultaneously navigating multi-billion-dollar semiconductor bottlenecks and very real geopolitical conflicts.
All at the same time.
All at the same time. And they have to wrap all of that unbelievable back-end complexity in the shiny, emotionally appealing marketing of something as visceral as Formula One. If any single piece of that equation fails, if the chips stop flowing, if the software lags behind Silicon Valley, or if the branding loses its cultural cool factor, the entire business model collapses.
It truly is a high-wire act.
Yeah.
It gives you a profound appreciation for the sheer friction involved just to get a single new vehicle onto a dealership lot right now.
It's a miracle they get built at all.
Every car you see on the highway is the result of a dozen global crises being narrowly avoided.
It really is. And as we wrap up our analysis of these sources, this raises an important question that I want to leave you with.
Okay, let's hear it.
We've established that our cars are now effectively moving data hubs. We know they rely entirely on rapid semiconductor supply chains and continuous cell tower connectivity to function properly. So what happens to our traditional concept of owning a car in this new reality? If the physical steel and the electric motors can easily run for 20 years, but the software ecosystem inside the dashboard becomes entirely obsolete or unsupported by the manufacturer in just 5 years, do you really own the vehicle?
That is a terrifying thought.
Or are we all slowly transitioning into permanently leasing rolling computer hardware that requires constant paid digital life support just to stay on the road? It's a fascinating dilemma that builds directly on the tech friction we've seen throughout these reports.
Wow. That is definitely something that will stick with you the next time you get in your car and a software update notification pops up on the center console.
It changed the whole dynamic.
The idea of the hardware outlasting the software completely flips the script on how we value and maintain our vehicles. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive today. We hope this exploration helped untangle the chaos of those headlines and gave you a clearer picture of the massive forces truly driving the auto industry forward right now. Never stop questioning how the world around you works and keep exploring. We'll catch you on the next deep dive.